Welcome to the fantasy world, a place of magic, wonder, and workplace termination policies that would make even the worst HR department blush. Meet Rainn Shroud. Rainn is a beast tamer. In the grand hierarchy of fantasy job classes, this is usually somewhere between guy who talks to squirrels and Pokemon trainer with no badges. Rainn is currently employed by the Heroes Party. You know, the chosen ones destined to save the world. Well, today they've decided to save the world by trimming the fat, and unfortunately, Rainn is the fat. Here we have the heroes. First, there's Arios, the leader, whose primary skill seems to be hair gel and ego. Then Agath and Lena, the backup dancers. They sit Rainn down for a classic, "It's not you, it's us." Actually, no, it is you speech. Arios drops the bomb. Rainn is fired. Why? Because according to them, he's a feeble, useless loser. Ouch. Tell us how you really feel, buddy. Apparently, while they're out there tanking hits and dealing damage, Rainn is just playing Animal Crossing in the background. They claim he contributes nothing other than carrying their luggage and doing recon. You know, logistics. The thing that actually wins wars. Yeah, they don't care. To add insult to injury, actually just more injury, they make him leave his equipment behind. Leave your gear at the door, we paid for it. Rainn is now officially unemployed. He wanders the streets pondering his existence. We get a quick flashback to show that Rainn is, in fact, the nicest guy on the planet. He uses his useless powers to entertain local orphans with bird tricks. The kids think he's cool. The kids think he's amazing. The kids are smarter than the hero. But bills need to be paid and bird tricks don't buy bread. So Rainn decides to pivot. He's going freelance. He's becoming an adventurer. He realizes that without the save the world pressure, he can just vibe. He wants to travel, make a fortune, and live like a migratory bird. A bird with a bank account. He strolls into the Adventurers Guild and meets Natalie, the receptionist. Natalie is shocked that someone actually thought about the logistics of being an adventurer. She explains the ranking system. It goes from S, God mode, down to R. R presumably stands for really bad. Rainn reveals his class is Beast Tamer. Natalie gives him the, "Oh, honey, are you sure?" look. She basically tells him, "Please don't die. We hate filling out the paperwork." To prove he's not totally incompetent, he has to pass a trial, kill 10 goblins, and pick some herbs. It's the classic MMORPG tutorial quest. Go fetch me 10 rat tails. Rainn heads into the forest. He finds the goblins. He deletes the goblins. It turns out when you're not carrying 500 pounds of the hero's ego on your back, you can actually fight. Who knew? Quest complete. Easy peasy. But wait, what's that sound? Screaming? In a forest? Groundbreaking. Rainn rushes in and finds a girl cornered by a killer tiger. But Rainn, having zero survival instincts, jumps in anyway. He tells the girl to run. He decides to use his ultimate move, distraction via dying. He stands his ground, ready to get mauled to buy this stranger 3 seconds of running time. What a guy. But the girl, she doesn't run, she doesn't scream, she just vibes. The tiger lunges, and then BAM! She hits the tiger with a pimp hand, so strong it probably filed a restraining order midair. One hit, the D-rank monster is down. Rainn is confused. The tiger is confused. I'm confused. Meet Kinade. She's not just a girl, she's a cat spirit, an ultimate species. Basically, she's a walking nuclear weapon with cat ears. After turning the local wildlife into a fine paste, Kinade collapses. Is she hurt? Is she dying? No, she's hungry. She demands food like a college student at 3 a.m. Rainn hands over a ham sandwich and she inhales it. Ham, ham, ham. Truly the dialogue of a god. They introduce themselves. Rainn drops the lore. Yeah, I got fired for being useless. Kinade, who just met this guy 5 minutes ago, gets legitimately angry on his behalf. She can't believe the Heroes Party tossed aside someone so kind. She's furious. Rainn is just like, nah, it's cool. I was kind of dead weight. Stop being humble, Rainn. They treated you like a pack mule. Then, Kinade has an epiphany. She feels a buzz. No, not the bees. Electricity. She tells Rainn he should tame her. Pause. Imagine meeting a girl in the woods. She punches a tiger to death, eats your lunch, and then says, "Hey, put a leash on me." Anime logic remains undefeated. She explains that taming a cat spirit is near impossible, but she feels Rainn can do it. Rainn hesitates, but ultimately agrees because, well, having a bodyguard who can bench press a semi-truck seems like a solid retirement plan. He chants the spell. "Your power in my hand. Speak now. Say your name." She says Kinade. The light flashes, the music swells, boom, contract sealed. Rainn, the useless looter, has just tamed an S-tier ultimate species within 24 hours of being fired. Take that, Arios. Have fun carrying your own potions, you hair-gelled buffoon. Rainn and Kinnaid are now a team, and for the Heroes Party, they have no idea what they just lost, but don't worry, they're gonna find out. But this is just the beginning of Rainn's I Told You So tour. Let's see who else he picks up for his party. So Rainn has successfully tamed a demigod cat girl. His reward? A shiny F-rank card and 50 copper coins. That's right, for slaying 10 goblins and saving an endangered species, he gets paid enough to buy maybe half a sandwich. Welcome to the gig economy, Rainn. To celebrate their newfound poverty, they head to a tavern because nothing says fantasy anime like a rowdy pub full of NPCs waiting to get beat up. Enter the drunk guy. You know the type. He sees Kinnaid, sees Rainn, and his brain creates the brilliant equation: small boy plus hot girl. Would I should harness my inner creep. He challenges Rainn to an arm wrestling match. The stakes? Winner takes the girl. Rainn, being the conflict-averse nice guy, tries to decline, but the guy insults Kinnaid, so Rainn decides it's time to throw hands. He expects a struggle. Instead, he slams the guy's arm down so hard he obliterates the table. The drunk guy goes flying. The wood turns to sawdust. Rainn stands there looking at his hand like, did I do that? Kinnaid explains the fine print of their contract. When a beast tamer bonds with an ultimate species, the tamer gets a stats boost relative to the beast. So, because Kinnaid can punch tigers into orbit, Rainn can now casually bench press a building. He didn't know this. The Heroes Party didn't know this. Rainn has been walking around with the potential to be One Punch Man, and Arios had him carrying luggage. The incompetence of that hero party is truly staggering. With his new super strength, Rainn decides to take on his first official job as a duo. Is it slaying a dragon, raiding a dungeon? No, it's picking weeds. Again. Kinnaid is disappointed. She wants legendary swords and kidnapped princesses. Rainn explains that they have to grind F-rank quests to gain trust. It's called paying your dues, Kinnaid. While they're out touching grass, they spot a merchant being robbed. And this isn't just a mugging, it's the Ebon Fangs, a bandit group with over 100 members and a name that sounds like a teenage emo band. The merchants hired guards. They took one look at the bandits and Naruto ran in the opposite direction. Rainn, who possesses zero self-preservation instincts, decides to intervene. Rainn and Kinnaid jump in. Kinnaid does her usual, I am a living weapon routine, and Rainn actually throws hands too. They save the merchant. But Rainn isn't done. He realizes that if they let the bandits go, they'll just come back for revenge. So he decides to take down the entire 100-man organization, just the two of them. How? Rainn reveals his secret weapon. He hasn't just been taming squirrels, he's tamed a swarm of Arby's. No, not the fast food chain with the meats. These are paralytic bees. Kinnaid points out the obvious. Wait, isn't taming bugs a completely different class? Yes, it is. Rainn is casually multi-classing into an insect tamer because he felt like it. He sends the bees to the bandit hideout to paralyze everyone. It's biological warfare, but it's for a good cause. Now, this next part is important. We cut to the guards who ran away earlier. It turns out they were temps from the Heroes Party. Small world. They are complaining about how useless Rainn was, but then they drop the biggest lore bombshell of the series. They criticize Rainn for only using a squirrel for scouting. They say, why didn't he use 10 or 20 animals? Here is the kicker. It is physically impossible for a normal beast tamer to control more than one animal. Trying to control two would fry a normal person's brain. Rainn controls dozens simultaneously without breaking a sweat. These idiots are sitting there mocking him, completely unaware that they are describing a magical impossibility. They think he's lazy. Meanwhile, Rainn is out here running a supercomputer in his brain while they struggle to tie their shoes. It confirms what we suspected. Rainn isn't weak. He's a prodigy surrounded by morons. Back to the action. Kinnaid runs back to town to get help, because 100 bandits is a lot of handcuffs. She rounds up a posse of other adventurers. They storm the cave. The bees have done their job. Most of the bandits are twitching on the floor. But the bandit leader has a backup plan. He releases his pets, king lizards, C-rank monsters. The other adventurers panic. Oh no, C-rank, we're doomed. Rainn and Kinnaid look at each other like, really? That's it? Rainn steps up. He's not the luggage carrier anymore. He's the guy who broke a table by accident. Rainn and Kinnaid absolutely dismantle the King Lizards. It's not a fight, it's animal control. The other adventurers are stunned. The merchant is crying tears of joy. For the first time in his life, Rainn is getting credit. People are cheering for him. Nobody is calling him useless. Nobody is telling him to wait outside. He realizes that maybe, just maybe, the problem wasn't him. The problem was that he was working for a toxic boss who couldn't recognize talent if it slapped him in the face with a dragon. With Kanata by his side and his confidence growing, Rainn is finally starting to see his own worth.